Station here on Lagos Television, and on this side, we'll be discussing an important issue: effective intermodal transportation system here in Lagos. Um, One of the pressing issues affecting millions of residents here in Lagos: transportation, um, traffic congestion, and there is an urgent need for a seamless and integrated transport system. But the state government has done, should I say, a lot, in rolling out the blue and red rail lines, expansions in the waterway services. You have ongoing infrastructure upgrades here and there across the state, and which is signaling the state government's commitment to an effective intermodal transportation system, a system that integrates both the road, the rail, and the waterways to, ensure efficient mobility. But joining us on this conversation today is Jeff Adebowale, a policy development strategist who will be sharing insights on this topic. You're welcome. He'll be joining us via Zoom. Jeff, you're welcome to the conversation.
Thank you for having me. Good morning to everyone in the studio, and good morning to Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria.
It's always a delight to have you join us. Okay, now we are discussing effective intermodal transportation system in Lagos. What does this really mean to have an effective intermodal transportation system, and for a city like Lagos?
Apparently, it's very obvious. It's not a new terminology. It's nothing new that Lagos is a mega city in Africa. And of course, because of the nature and, how sort of Lagos is positioned, it gives it a lot of opportunity to be able to have multiple modes of transportation. Of course, we have Lagos is very much, surrounded by water, and of course some good land. And at the end of the day, we must be able to understand that Lagos is almost fully developed. It's almost, pretty much like we just need to tell ourselves the truth. We can't continue to just only focus on land, logistics or land travel. And of course, even if we're going to do land, we need to do much more than just road because we can't even afford to just look at the population of Lagos and the growth of Lagos and just think that all we can have is just road transportation. So we need to begin to think about how we can integrate other modes of transportation, water, of course, land, but of course, even on the land, we have road, we have rail, and of course, the way Lagos is also built, we would not have many rails on land. We would most likely have overhead trains, like we have the blue line. So, we just need to be, pretty much more smarter in how we move people from place to place because clearly this is affecting our productivity in Lagos, and so we need to do better than what we are doing currently.
Okay, earlier you talked about Lagos, has really done a lot in this intermodal transportation system. Okay, from your policy perspective, what are the most significant milestones, Lagos has achieved in coming up with this system?
Oh, yes. One of the most significant is the Blue Rail. Of course, with then the Lamata BRT conversation. But significantly, the Blue Rail line, for us getting into train and, of course, adopting what is similar to what you have in Dubai, where you have, sort of overhead trains rather than the ones that are on ground. So Lagos has made a significant, progress in transportation, of course, in Nigeria and across the West African state. The BRC is another sort of innovative solution, but we need to still do much more because whether you like it or not, the yellow buses, and I will say this categorically on LTV, that even last month has almost become a problem of traffic in Lagos because you will, travel along major bus stops and major routes. and you will discover that it is LASMA that is actually even aiding yellow buses parking indiscriminately on the road. I mean, a lot of the time when I'm in Lagos, I'm traveling along Ikorodu Road all the way into Ikorodu. And if you see that whole stretch, as you get into Ojota, K2, My 12, and further down into Ikorodu, you will discover that you have LASMA and they're stopping yellow buses, where they should not even be. So we need to do much more when it comes to, of course, the BRT engagement. We need to, of course, improve the capacity on rail so that we can reduce dependence on buses. And of course, on the waterways, we've had significant progress in that regard, but we still have a lot to do, of course, in dredging the waters and getting them clean and safer. And of course, we have fragments. And so we don't have proper data to be able to manage how we progress from where we are to where we need to get to. Those are some of the other things that I think we need to add, but we have made significant, milestones, improvement in, of course, introduction of the blue rail, and we need to get to the red, we need to get to as many more other, routes that we should be able to cover within the next decade.
Okay, you've talked about the rail, and the other rail lines that work has been done that is still in progress. So what about the BRT? The BRT is one transportation system that I particularly like, but we don't have it covering everywhere for now. What if it covers everywhere? How much of it will residents, enjoy? Or is it possible for it to cover everywhere? Looking at policy now.
Yes, I mean it is important for us. I mean to let the BRT system cover the entire length and breadth of the state. And in coverage does not necessarily mean we're doing large buses. Of course, what we already have in Lagos, for example, you have the large buses, the medium-sized buses, and then you also have the small buses. Yeah, so I mean that's the conversation. So we need to do much more in that regard. I mean that's where we need to have a lot more infrastructure. I mean a lot more expenditure, a lot more capital being pushed into that conversation of being able to say, okay, major roads, we need to have the large buses and the medium buses. Of course, the buses that are not powered by diesel, but rather powered by gas, rather powered by electricity, rather powered by a combination, an hybrid of either gas, CNG and electric, so that this can also impact on us on the whole carbon footprint and the environmental impact on the SDG goals. So of course we have the large buses and the medium-sized buses to cover the major roads, and of course other roads, then we have the smaller buses. So we can sort of phase out the yellow buses from our major roads, so that if we do that and we coordinate that conversation properly, it then becomes a lot more easier for us, to be able to understand that this is not just only about moving people from place to place, but this will help us to have raw data that can help us in analyzing and making decisions as to what is going to be required in the next 5 years and the next 10 years. I will adopt a strategy being adopted in Dubai, for example. You need just only one card, one smart card, and you can tap in whether into buses or into the trains.
But we have
So that's why
but we have the Cowrie card in Lagos that we use for the buses, the trains,
but
and
then
of course the ferries.
we still have yes, but we still have more yellow buses on the road.
Oh, okay.
Do you understand what I mean? So we need to improve, of course, the infrastructure. The cost of getting more rails, it's huge. So it's not something that we're going to see, even if Lagos is able to engage more rail systems and cover more routes or routes, depending on whether American or British English. We still need the BRT, the buses, to be able to sort of cover the last mile. And beyond the large buses, we need the smaller buses. And then, like I said, we have the carry cards that can allow us to move around the country, the state, whether by train or by buses, even as much as if we can even do it as much as the kekes that we have, street by street, between the local government, and the internal roads. What that will do for us is that there's raw data to be collated and collected at the back end. And this can help with, a lot of policy formulation and a lot of designs in, how people are being, transported, within the city of Lagos.
Okay.
They haven't highlighted the milestone, I call them functions now of these transport modes. You've talked about the rail, the BRT, and you've also talked about the ferries now. Do you think that Lagosians are adequately sensitized about utilizing these alternative transport modes? Do they really see the importance?
Yeah, thank you, my sister. The most important thing. Okay, so let me tell you a typical story. So there was a season in my life. I returned from Abuja to Lagos. I was on a project. I didn't have an apartment in Lagos, so I had to stay with my sister at Ikorodu, somewhere in Agric. And I would go to the ferry. I've forgotten the name of where this ferry starts from now, somewhere Majidun or so. I would do the ferry from there to VI or to Lekki, and then I would do a small bus to get into my office somewhere around Elf in Lekki Phase 1 area. And a particular day came, and was heavy rain, and the captain of the boat missed his way and missed the rain and all of that, and we literally got lost on the water. That's interesting, right? We literally got lost and found ourselves somewhere around, because of the heavy rain, around Baduri or somewhere there. And
you were going to Marina? Were you going to Marina?
No, we're going to Lekki.
Lekki.
We're going to
Okay.
Lekki.
Okay.
Lekki VI, access. And so one gentleman said, "Oh, he even had a dream overnight." While we were in there, right in the middle of the water, lost and all of that, I said, "Oh, he had a dream that the boat he took capsized."
Is it
And
Jonah?
you can imagine. Some people got down from where we found ourselves, somewhere around, the Baduri, Ado area. Some people got down and said they were not going anymore. But for me, I was like, I don't have anything to worry about. I don't think there's going to be any accident in this boat to just get us to where we're going. And the captain, found his way and got us, into Lekki, and I got off from there. Now, these are some of the things that happen because we have people who are managing these businesses. The water transportation, and they are not professional enough. They are not properly coordinated. The sensitization is also not there as to the safety. And so, of course, when you hear mishap today, you hear, every year, we always, almost on a yearly basis, we hear both mishap, whether in the Ikorodu-Lekki route or from the Mautu to Marina, that access. So if you continue to have that, and you are such a person that you don't have a choice, you must use that particular route. And you see how dirty the water is, and how the machines of the boat can be clogged with dirt. The water sometimes can be very shallow, sometimes can be very deep. Right now it's going to be very deep because water level has really risen. And so there are so many things to take care of from the side of government in making sure that the waterways are safe. But there's a lot of orientation that we need to give our people. And for me, I don't see a reason why I should drive all around Lagos when I can jump on a train, I can jump on a Uber, and I can take a walk, if I need to get to where I need to get to. But we must sensitize ourselves as to the reasons why we must engage this mode of transportations. But we must also, as a state, give the comfort to the people, and we must understand that there's a lot of time that is being wasted. Resources wasted when people have to travel from place to place, and the roads are not very clear. And LASMA, I would continue to hammer this. LASMA now becoming a problem in Lagos, creating traffic points. instead of being the ones to ensure that there are no traffic. So there's a lot of reorientation that needs to happen across board in Lagos State, yes.
Okay, I'm glad you gave us that experience, you had to go through. So when that happened, um, let's talk about safety. So how is safety now being prioritized, especially at transfer points? That is between transfer points and of course modes. How is safety being prioritized?
So I mean, it's almost sacrosanct that there's nothing more we can do than to sort of ensure people's safety. For example, if you live in a corridor and you're certain that if I have a car, I don't have to drive it all the way to Marina to work, because if I have my car, I can drive to the jetty, park my car in a safe place, get onto a safe ferry, that is guaranteed, has, everything to ensure that my safety across the 30 minutes thereabout I'm going to spend on the water on the Lagos Lagoon, I'm going to be safe. And then on the other side of the ferry, when I get maybe to Marina or to CMS or to Lekki, there are, small buses, same Lamata small buses, using the same carry card. I can get out of the ferry, get into a small bus that can take me to work. And when I get out of work, I can go safely to a bus stop, not crowded, not rowdy, not people running up and down, that could snatch my bag or, I mean, well coordinated. I can get on a line, get into another small bus, get me to the ferry, from the ferry, get into the ferry, get back to Ikorodu and get into my car. And all of this is all well thought through. I mean, similar stuff from people from my two that are coming to the island. Which other route now? Maybe from even from Ibejuleki side, and all of that. And it's not ferry, but I can get onto a park somewhere, maybe around let me see, maybe Lakwe, for example. And I'm coming to Marina, and I have my car, and I can decide to either drive to the park and park there and get onto a BRT, proper queuing, proper infrastructure, not, where everybody's sweating, not where rain is beating everybody, and all of that. And I can get into a bus and I can from there proceed to Marina, get off Marina and take a walk into my office. And when I need to get back, to work. I mean, if we're certain that all of these conversations I mean, I love what is happening at Oshodi. I mean, what the infrastructure we have in Oshodi. So if you use Oshodi a lot, you will understand that when you get into the terminal in Oshodi, you're safe. You're safe, of course, from rain, from sunlight, and all those other stuff. So you can easily find a place to sit, get onto the bus, and then get to your location. And when you return, they bring you to that same hub. So in that hub, I can, as well come back from work and spend another 30 minutes at that, Oshodi hub, one of the terminals, because there are snacks there. There are things I can sit down to do there. I mean, so we need more such, scattered across the state, where you have the major hubs and then, of course, sub hubs that is well protected. And when I say well protected, even from hoodlums and all of these different miscreants that run all around the street and snatching bags and and so those are the things we need to have. We also need to, for safety wise, LASMA. And I mean, LASMA needs to be retrained. The moment I got this topic, person, I want to talk about this because I've had to more or less fight LASMA on the road many times, and I'm like, I mean, what are you guys doing? You are the ones stopping, yellow buses on the road. So it makes it almost difficult that you are descending, my 12 market, bridge, for example, and you have the service lane has been taken over by the market. LASMA is parking a yellow bus on the remaining two lanes, descending the bridge. Now imagine a truck fails the brake. I mean, that place is already a congestion. And it's not safe for everybody, driving in that. I mean, my car's been shot once before at that point because everybody has to now follow just one narrow lane because the LASMA officer parked some yellow buses on the road. So, I mean, to talk about safety the more, we need LASMA to be well trained and for them to do their job clear the road and clear the road away from traffic, not causing even more traffic that endanger property.
All right, you passed your message. Very clear. All right, now Lagos is densely populated with thousands of people trooping in every day, and there is a projection that by 2035, the population of Lagos will be about 30 million. And so when we look at the current transport reforms, are they future-proof? And from your perspective now, what frameworks are essential to support intermodal integration?
Yes, thank you very much. I mean, whether we like it or not, Lagos is a mega city. And if you count, heads as of today, and we talked about how it even affects, food security and sustainability of food in Lagos. I mean, we've had that topic. I mean, the last time I was I think it was the last time I was on LTV, right? I think that was sustainability, food sustainability in Lagos, I think must have been the topic. Yeah. So, I mean, that also affects, food and affects so many other things. And I said the same thing. We must be smart as to how we engage in Lagos. I mean, for a modern city, a mega city like Lagos, we need to bring in a lot of technology. And that's why I also said that if we remove all of this fragment, where you have an agency managing water separate from the ones managing road, and then you have the yellow buses not properly coordinated by either NURTW or the Road Transport Workers Association and all of that, we wouldn't be able to have the raw data to understand, Lagos as it were. Imagine we have just Lamata managing logistics all over Lagos. It means that we can have data that describe to us the movement of people in Lagos State. You would have a single dashboard that shows how people move around in Lagos. Now, with that technology and with that sort of data, it becomes a lot easier to plan. It becomes a lot easier to understand the various, roads infrastructure that we have, trunk A, B, C, the different locations based on the congestion and the population of the different local governments and wards. And this will help us with policy design. This will help us to know how to inject capital into road infrastructure, and of course, other, infrastructure that needs to be designed, as to rail and, the waterways and all of that. If we can get data, do more in that regard, it will help us with infrastructure, it will help us with security, and of course, we need a lot of public engagement. We cannot overemphasize, those conversations. But as we look into the future, for me, what I see as what we need primarily is technology. And is that technology that can help us to be able to design what we will need and where we need them, where we need road expansion, where we need to bring in other technologies, where we need to engage more of the private sector to invest more, for example, in the BRTs and all the other stuff. That's about what I think right now we need, because we can't stop the influx of people into Lagos, because Lagos is where everybody wants to be.
It's where everything is happening.
Yes.
Okay, you've would I say, spoken extensively about, or complained extensively about LASMA, and of course how you got lost on the waterways. That is new, because most of the challenges I've heard about people, flying the waterways is, maybe some people didn't use their life jackets, or the engine stopped, midway. So when we have all of this, when operators fail, who do we hold, or who holds these operators accountable when service delivery, falls short?
Thank you very much. The most important thing, like I said earlier, is because we have our transport system quite fragmented, right? It makes it rather impossible for us to have the right data. It makes it impossible for us to monitor and evaluate. It makes it almost impossible to enforce, what the law says about, operations. So if Lamata is focused on road and train, but is it Laswa also that is focused on water?
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe there's improvement. I mean, I'm not undermining anyone, but maybe there's improvement because I've not used the ferry. I mean, if after that day, maybe I probably use the ferry maybe once or twice again after that. I mean,
You still
literally,
used it?
I'm telling you. I mean, I think I used it back that same day, and maybe once or twice after that. I think I used it, and ever since then, I stopped. I had to start driving from Ikorodu to Lekki every day because, I mean, it is one untold for somebody to be having a dream that there was a mishap in the boat, and you have to be careful. We're very spiritual. Number two, for somebody who is, captaining a small boat to get in code. I mean, we were literally lost. I mean, I'm not joking. We found ourselves in a total different location. And, the quest, again, just like, I've said, is that because there are, in code, PPP, into this, people invest, by having those, small ferries.
Yeah.
And they find arguably the larger boys who know about the water and they live around the water to come and do the business for them. So the investor himself is not on the water. The investor himself, who has maybe 1, 2, 3 of those boats plying one route to the other, doesn't even use the asset he has there. So we need proper coordination at the state level. We need more safer environment, just the same way Lamata is managing the BRTs. And most of the BRT buses are not even owned by Lagos State government. So why can't we have such? Lamata coordinates all transport, but people, myself, yourself, can invest in owning those ferries. And it is under the management of Lamata, and Lamata can coordinate. And on a day-to-day basis, they can see their data. I'm sure they have data analysts coordinating the data and seeing what the trend is and using that to sort of advise government on what, to do next as next expansion in Lagos. We don't have that. We don't have proper coordination. We don't have proper management. We don't have proper enforcement. Again, LASMA that is supposed to be managing, traffic are the ones even causing more problems on the road. Then it becomes almost impossible for us to understand what is really going on in Lagos as it comes to transportation.
Thank you very much, Jeff Adebowale, for sharing your insight on this topic, effective intermodal transportation system here in Lagos. He is a policy development strategist. Thank you so much for your time on the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
The program continues shortly. Stay with us.
The views expressed on this program do not represent that of the producer, management of Lagos Television, or the Lagos State Government. They remain the perspectives of those expressing them. Thank you for staying with Lagos Television.